Happy Friday! Welcome back to Drinking by myself. I'm all snuggled up in my red silk jammies, which completely clash with the curtains behind me, so sorry for hurting your eyes with that mess. The most recent video I posted was my bookish buzzwords, and now, very relevant, I am going to film my Buzzwordathon TBR. I've never actually taken part in the Buzzwordathon before, but I always see it and think it looks like a really fun readathon, and then it just like never works out with my reading schedule. But this time I'm going to give it a go. This is a readathon that's run by Books and Lala and then a different guest host every time, I believe. And this time it is someone called Gabby. Let me just double check that. Yeah, this time it is Books and Lala along with Gabby Reads. And every round they have a different buzzword, and the idea is just to read as many books as you can that have that buzzword in the title. And this time the buzzword is just numbers. Any number from 1 to infinity. So I thought this was great because I was like, yes, there's so many books with numbers in the title. I should be able to find stuff that I can actually take part in this readathon with this time on my shelf. But then I looked at my TBR, my whole TBR that I own. I don't have a single book with a number in the title. What are the chances? Every time this happens, I can never take part in Buzzwordathon because I never have the right books. So I decided, whatever. I need to do a readathon. I've been a very slow reader the last couple of months. I've been in such a slump. Maybe doing a readathon will break me out of that. So I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and buy some books. Because when I looked at my Goodreads TBR, as in like the books that I don't own yet but that are on my want to read list, there are so many in there with numbers and so many that I really want to read and have been excited about. So I might as well use this as an excuse to buy them. So I'm filming this now, just the intro of what those books are and what I'm choosing between. And then on Thursday I have the morning off work, so I'm going to go to a bookshop then and see what I can actually find to buy. Okay, so the first book on my Goodreads TBR that is an option for this is Marriage of a Thousand Lies by S.J. Sindhu. And this is about a marriage between a Sri Lankan American couple who are both gay and have agreed to get married to protect themselves from their family's disapproval, basically. And it's basically working, like they're good friends, they get to be married, then they each date on the side. And that's all going well until Lucky, who is the wife, goes back home and reconnects with a childhood love of hers, who is also preparing for marriage to a man. And at that point, Lucky starts to think about whether or not it's worth it having a marriage based on a lie, and what Nisha, who's her childhood love, what Nisha thinks about what she needs as well. So it sounds like it's going to be really moving and generally just great. Okay, the next book on my list is The One by John Mars. This one I've wanted to read for ages. I thought it sounded really interesting, and then my sister read it and really hated it. She said it was terrible, but I've seen other people on BookTube read it and really enjoy it. So I want to give it a go. This is a thriller, and it's got, in this world, the premise is there exists this app or this service where you can be DNA tested and then matched with your true soulmate. But that's like totally upended the traditional way of romance and like broken up pre-existing marriages. It's kind of like that episode of Black Mirror where it's like finding your actual perfect soulmate. I feel like I read the first chapter of this one, if this is the one I'm thinking of, and it like started with, I think someone had just murdered their soulmate, or like it opens with someone in a room with a dead woman who was their soulmate, I believe. Sounds kooky and unusual, so I'm going to give it a go, even though my sister's probably right, and then she's going to be like, Emma, I told you so. The next book is 6 Stories by Matt Wasilowski. This is one that Lala also talked about in her video, one I wanted to read for a while. So this I think is about a podcast, so it's kind of like based on Serial. So it's like a true crime story, but it is actually fiction. So it's this story in the 90s of this teenager who has died in mysterious circumstances, and then a journalist, an investigative journalist who has a podcast like Serial, comes along to interview 6 different people and try and figure out what actually happened. And I was completely hooked on Serial the first season when it first came out, like absolutely, it was so good. So I'm hoping that this is gonna like give me that same feeling. Next I've got a book by Claire North. I've actually only read one of her books, but I loved it. It was the first 15 Lives of Harry August. It's really unusual, and I've read like a lot of the blurbs of her other books, and it seems like she just comes up with these incredible ideas. So the one for this one is called 84K, and this is about a kind of dystopian world where you can commit any crime as long as you can pay the fee for that crime. So basically the richest people in the world can literally get away with murder because all they have to do is pay for it. That's the premise. I don't really know what the plot of this particular book is. I think like there's a guy who works for the company that's in charge of getting the fees, and then his girlfriend is murdered, so it becomes personal for him and he's going to go on a quest or something to to change the system. I don't know, but I'm into it. The 100 Nights of Hero by Isabel Greenberg. This is one I've seen a lot of people talking about on BookTube and sounds really lovely. So I think it's kind of like a 1001 Nights retelling, but it's got a female love story in it, and it's a graphic novel, and those are always great for readathons. So the next one is The 100-Year House. This is by Rebecca Mackay, who wrote The Great Believers, and that was one of my top books of 2018. I loved it so much. So it's about generations of people living in a house. Basically, I like that kind of book anyway, but this one's told in reverse, so it like goes backwards to find this like family saga in reverse. That sounds lovely, and you know what, I would have been into it anyway because I just really liked her writing. Then I've got the first book of Calamity Leak. First and second and words like that also count as numbers for the Buzzwordathon. This one, where did I hear this about it? It was on a BookTube video. I think it was the one that Sana did from Books and Quills that was about, oh, it was about cults. It was books about cults, yeah. And they just said that this book, because she did this one with Anna James, I think. Yeah, it was Sana and Anna, and they did a video that was all about books about cults. And one of them, I can't remember who, recommended the first book of Calamity Leak as being really strange and kind of one that you like have to go in without knowing much about, because I think the first chapter is just like really deliberately bizarre and you're supposed to not be knowing what's going on, and then it all kind of falls into place. So, you know, intriguing. Don't really know from that whether I would like it or not, but I'm gonna give it a go, or maybe gonna give it a go depending on what I can find on the bookshop on Thursday. So that's my selection of books that I'm thinking about for the Buzzwordathon. So yeah, I will stop this now and then cut to me on Thursday going book shopping, and I'm gonna see which of those, like which 4 or 5, 5's ambitious, let's go with 4, I can find in the bookshop to actually begin my TBR. See you in a sec. Okay, it's a few days later. I am looking a little bedraggled because I'm just heading through the rain to Daunt Books to browse some books for Buzzwordathon. I found at Daunt Books A Marriage of 1,000 Lies. So this is the one I'm going to start with for Buzzwordathon. They didn't have any of the others on my list, but I'm going to go and check them out from the library. So I've got everything I need to start Buzzwordathon. Give this video a thumbs up. Let me know what you're reading for Buzzwordathon and subscribe. Goodbye!